the control of the acorns. The next morning, Squirrel couldn't sleep. The image of the Chestnut House kept replaying in his mind. 1 year ago, it cost 10,000 acorns. Now it cost 15,000. The house hadn't changed. The river hadn't changed. The trees hadn't changed. Only the price had. Squirrel sat at his kitchen table staring at his savings jar. For years, he had worked. For years, he had saved. Yet somehow, the finish line kept moving farther away. Finally, he slammed his paws on the table. Enough. Who is responsible for this? Who decides how many acorns exist in the forest? Who controls the acorns? The next morning, Squirrel set off to find the answer. His first stop was the Council of Oak Trees. If anyone controlled the forest's money, surely it was them. The great chamber was quiet. Old Owl sat at the center of the council table. Squirrel marched inside. "I have a question." Owl nodded. "Ask, who controls the acorns?" The room fell silent. Then Owl laughed. Not a cruel laugh. A surprised laugh. "Asking the easy questions today, are we?" Squirrel frowned. "I'm serious. Isn't the council in charge? Didn't you create more acorns? Didn't prices rise because of that?" Owl leaned back in his chair. "We influence the system, but we do not control everything." Squirrel blinked. "What do you mean? Aren't you the boss?" Owl shook his head. "No." The answer caught Squirrel completely off guard. For weeks he had imagined a secret room somewhere beneath the forest. A giant machine. A giant lever. Someone pulling it whenever they wanted more acorns. Now Owl was telling him no such thing existed. "If you don't control everything," Squirrel asked, "then who does?" Owl pointed toward the center of town. "Go ask Squirrel Bank." A few hours later, Squirrel arrived at the bank. The director welcomed him into his office. Before the director could speak, Squirrel blurted out his question. "Do you control the acorns?" The director laughed even harder than Owl. "No, but you create loans." "Yes, and loans create new acorns." "Sometimes." Squirrel leaned forward. "Then you're the one controlling everything." The director shook his head. "Not exactly." He walked to the window overlooking the town. "Tell me something. If Rabbit doesn't want to expand his bakery, can I force him to borrow?" "No." If Beaver doesn't want to build another dam, can I force him to borrow? "No." If Bear decides he doesn't want to invest in another farm, can I force him to borrow? Squirrel thought for a moment. "No." The director nodded. "Then how much control do I really have?" "We can offer loans. We can lower interest rates to make borrowing cheaper. But what good is a lower rate if nobody wants to take on debt?" Squirrel opened his mouth, then closed it again. "So interest rates are just an incentive?" Squirrel asked. "Exactly," the director smiled. "We can open the door, but the animals must choose to walk through it." Squirrel left the bank more confused than ever. That evening, he sat beneath the great oak tree with Owl once again. "I don't understand. I thought there would be someone in charge." "There must be somebody." Owl smiled. Then he pointed toward the forest. Far below them, animals were finishing their day. Rabbit was closing his bakery. Beaver was inspecting a new dam. Bear was negotiating for another piece of farmland. Fox was opening a new shop. Thousands of animals were making thousands of decisions. "Look carefully," said Owl. Squirrel watched. "What do you see?" "Animals." "And what are they doing?" "Making choices." Owl nodded. "Exactly. Every day, animals decide whether to spend, whether to save, whether to borrow, whether to invest, whether to build, whether to expand. And all those decisions affect the number of acorns moving through the forest." Squirrel stared at the town below. For the first time, he began seeing something larger than any single institution. The council mattered. The banks mattered. But so did everyone else. The forest economy wasn't a machine with a single driver. It was more like a living ecosystem. Millions of actions. Millions of reactions. All connected by invisible glowing lines of trade. All influencing one another. But what if everyone stopped borrowing? Squirrel asked. Owl smiled. Interesting question. The old owl picked up a stick and drew a picture in the dirt. Imagine Rabbit decides not to expand. Bear cancels his new farm. Beaver delays his construction project. Fox abandons his plans for a new store. One by one, the animals stop borrowing. The projects disappear. The spending slows. The growth slows. Soon the entire forest begins moving more slowly. Squirrel imagined the scene. Empty construction sites. Fewer workers. Fewer deliveries. Fewer customers. The forest felt quieter. Smaller. Less alive. That's why nobody truly controls everything, Owl said. The system is bigger than any one animal. As the sun began to set, Squirrel climbed the familiar hill overlooking Acorn Forest. The lights below flickered to life. Thousands of tiny lights. Thousands of tiny decisions. For weeks, he had been searching for the animal secretly pulling the strings. The one responsible for all the changes in the forest. The one controlling the acorns. Now he realized there was no single answer. The council influenced the system. The banks influenced the system. Businesses influenced the system. Families influenced the system. Every animal influenced the system. No one controlled everything, yet everyone helped shape the outcome. That night, Squirrel opened his journal. He wrote, "I went searching for the animal who controlled all the acorns. I never found one. Instead, I found an entire forest making millions of decisions every day." He paused for a moment, then added one final sentence. But one mystery still remains. He looked out the window toward the river, toward the Chestnut House, the house that seemed to grow more expensive every year. If nobody truly controlled the price of houses, why did house prices keep rising faster than everything else? Why were some animals getting richer simply by owning land? And why did saving feel harder every year? Squirrel closed the journal. Those questions would have to wait. For now, because that is a story for another day.
Next episode, The Chestnut House Mystery. Why do house prices rise faster than everything else?